about the next 15 minutes, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the illicit side or the illegal side, about heroin and how it works, and about fentanyl and what we face here in Orange County. But I will start with this. The plan in Orange County has been in effect since 2014. Our plan is, or the plan that I initially put up, was prevention and education, treatment, and enforcement. I testified to that at a Senate hearing. After I testified to that at a Senate hearing in 2014, the state took the exact same thing and uses that as a model. I start out by saying prevention is where the game has to be. We have to focus more effort, more time on prevention. Why? Prevention prevents. We have to spend time on treatment. We have to basically, when we spend time on treatment, we have to be able to talk about it like reasonable adults. Medically assisted treatment, it works. Suboxone, methadone, Vivitrol, it's a bridge. It saves lives. Combine that with proper psychiatric care, and people can go on to live productive lives. But the community can't revolt when somebody wants to put a methadone clinic in a location. Finally, enforcement. There has to be enforcement. As early as January of this year, the District Attorneys Association and law enforcement agencies in the United States are all saying the same thing. We have to do something about the supply of heroin and fentanyl coming into our country. We have to go back to, unfortunately, people don't want to hear it, but a war on drugs mentality. Because the fact of the matter is, fentanyl and heroin are so cheap because the market is so flooded that they are the alternative to pills. So let me talk to you a little bit about how it all works. We used to see people that were addicted, that were coming in, that they started with pills, they were overprescribed for a period of time, they lost their job, they don't have enough money, and they switched over to heroin. We still see a little bit of that. But now we are seeing what we believe in Orange County is what we call the residual heroin addict. That basically, they have been addicted to heroin for 3 or more years. They're basically living a subsistence life. They have enough money to survive, but they also have enough money to keep their habit. How does all this occur? Well, it occurs because the majority of heroin coming into the United States comes from Mexico and South America. It does not come from Afghanistan. Okay, people tell me all the time about the Middle East. Look, heroin is made in the Middle East, there's poppy plant in the Middle East, but the heroin that we see here in the United States, the majority comes from Mexico and South America, across our borders. That heroin today is being mixed with fentanyl, a synthetic drug. Fentanyl is made in China. Fentanyl sells for about $8,000 for 2 pounds in China. Okay? It takes about 3 to 5 little grains of fentanyl to kill you in its purest state. Okay? Like little grains of salt. 3 to 5 of those mixed in with heroin will kill you. But what's happened with fentanyl and heroin is you have the Mexican drug cartels. There's about 8 of them primarily, and you have Chinese crime syndicates. They have joined forces to make money. And when I mean they have joined forces, they have formed an alliance where they agreed to sell heroin to each other and fentanyl to each other, and then they put it into the United States market. And it flows into the United States through our borders. Our borders are very porous, no matter how you look at it. When it comes into the United States, it is packaged and repackaged. Sometimes it is diluted. It is mixed. The fentanyl is mixed with the heroin. And trust me, it is a scientific way of mixing it. You may not think that it is, but drug dealers know exactly how to do it. They know exactly how to put enough fentanyl in with the heroin that they're not going to kill you. But when they make a mistake, it does. There's no way of telling that this packet of heroin won't kill you and this packet of heroin will kill you. There's no way of knowing that. But what we continue to see is that the drugs come in from, the heroin comes in from Mexico. A lot of times prior to getting out of Mexico, the Chinese send the fentanyl to Mexico, it gets mixed and it gets put in. It comes to the United States. When it comes to the United States, the drug dealers in the United States, for the most part, it goes into Texas, it goes into Miami, are the two big ones in California. Then it makes its way for us either to New York City or Philadelphia. New York City being the primary hub. From New York City, for Orange County, the vast majority of it either comes from the Bronx or it gets sent across the river to Patterson. Most of the heroin you see here in Newburgh comes from the Bronx. Most of the heroin you see Middletown and West comes from Patterson, New Jersey. Patterson, New Jersey has one of the largest open-air drug markets anywhere in the United States. I personally have went to Patterson, New Jersey, drove an unmarked police car, and had someone try to sell me heroin. It's the truth. And it's a frightening truth. And yes, the Patterson, New Jersey Police Department are doing everything they can to fight it. But that's how the demand is. But here's what's happening with heroin. Everyone is in the chain of selling heroin, whether it has fentanyl in it or it doesn't, is making extreme amounts of money. And I'll give you the example. You can buy the fentanyl for $8,000 for about 2 pounds. You can buy about 2 pounds of heroin for about $20,000. You have $28,000 investment. You take that, you bring it and you mix it up and you dilute it a little bit. You can turn $28,000 into $250,000 to $300,000 out on the street. That's the profit margin that you have with it. That's what we're fighting. So let's just say that you're addicted to pills and you're addicted to OxyContin or Percocet or something or any other opioid. And a pill out on the street, a named pill, usually sells for 75 cents to $1 per milligram if it's not a generic brand. And people that have money will pay top dollar for that. When they run out of money, they will look for an alternative. They will look for heroin. What happens then is they will find somebody that sells heroin. You can buy heroin, depending on where you're at in Orange County, for as little as $3 a bag up to about $10 a bag, depending on the quality. That $3 to $10 bag will give you the same high, the same euphoric feeling as a pill. So are you going to take a 30 or a 40 milligram pill or whatever it is and pay $30 or $40? Or are you going to pay $3, $5, $7, or $10 for the bag of heroin? You will. Another misconception everybody says. Everybody thinks you have to take heroin intravenously and you have to do it. Absolutely not. The vast majority of people that start on heroin started by snorting it up their nose. And we know that. After you snort it for a period of time, it doesn't get you high enough, then you switch to the intravenous. Those are some of the things that we face. What we're seeing now, we're seeing a very unique trend happening in Orange County where people are turning away from heroin and are moving back to cocaine because they don't want to die. They're so deathly afraid of getting something with fentanyl in it, not being able to handle it. They're going back to cocaine. And we're seeing that on an actual fairly appreciable scale that we can actually see. And we're seeing it in Middletown, and we're seeing it here in Newburgh, and we're starting to see it in Port Jervis. In 2015, we arrested a gentleman in Port Jervis who would make 3 trips a week and go down to Patterson, New Jersey and pick up drugs. He would go down to Patterson, New Jersey, he would buy the drugs for $150. He would bring them back to Port Jervis and charge basically a finder's fee. He would sell them for about $450 to $500 in Port Jervis. So you figure out the profit. He was making $250, $300 a run. He would do that 3 times a week. So if he did it 3 times a week, he was making $900 a week just selling heroin that he brought back from Patterson, New Jersey. When he added it up at the end of the year, we figured out he was basically making $39,000 a year selling heroin in Port Jervis. When we actually arrested him and went to his apartment, we found about 75 pizza boxes, a whole bunch of stuff from McDonald's, an Xbox, and 1,000 video games. And that was his life. That is what we call a subsistence drug dealer. His entire life revolved around getting drugs, selling drugs, and living. If you saw this person on the street, you would have no idea that he was a drug dealer. He looked like an average person, functioned, went to the grocery store, obviously ate a lot of pizza, went to McDonald's a lot, played a lot of video games, but did not look like a derelict, did not look like somebody that was a problem. That's what we're facing, and we face that every day. When it comes to enforcement, we do everything we can. If you are ready, willing, and able for treatment, we send you to drug court. In the last 4 years, we have not denied one person the opportunity to go to drug court that was there, ready, willing, and able, and had the opportunity to go through it. We've successfully put, so far in the last 4 years, over 150 people through drug court that have recovered. So that kind of gives you the angle, the perspective that we see through law enforcement. Again, the drug is very cheap, and it gives you the same high as the pill would. Thank you.
Thank you.